Coming up on the end of the year, right? 2024, when you look back at 2024 in its totality, right? 2024 was the year of exposure, right? We started off the year with Cat Williams. I really don't think people are going to let Cat Williams start the year off again. Maybe you want them to. If you do, 2025 is going to be even crazier. But 2024 was the year of exposure, bro. Hollywood being exposed. The Diddy stuff, like all kind of things were exposed and blew the doors off of 2024, man. So let's see some more things, or let's talk about some things that gets exposed from conspiracy theories, no matter what. Let's check out some things and have that conversation and break down tonight. Let's go.
I'm the most feared man in Hollywood. They don't like me in Hollywood.
Why do they not like you?
I don't wear dresses. I don't do that gay stuff on TV. They had to get some other black person to do that stuff. I'm talking, that's gun. But they all confess they love the Lord. But you cannot compromise yourself if you love the Lord. So I play tough guys, but young kids want to be soldiers. Young kids don't want to follow a guy to wear a dress. You know what I'm talking about.
That's something that's been talked about. I think people shied away from that, but they talk about that. Why is that? You know what I mean? Nothing against anybody who does what they do. You do what you do, it is what it is. But why does it feel like, and a lot of actors have spoke about this, that they feel like when they do something, they always want to put them in a compromising position. If I'm not a person who chooses to be in a dress, why do I have to play that? If somebody else wants to do that, that's cool for them. But why do y'all feel like y'all have to make me do that? And if I don't, then all of my roles start getting canceled and diminished, or I don't get phone calls. You know what I mean? I may not choose to go that route. Oh, some people would be like, oh, well, then you don't have range. Why don't I? If I don't have a dress, I don't wear a dress, I don't have range? Why is that? I don't have to do that if I don't want to do that. I can show you I got range in other things. I can show you I can be emotional. I can cry on command. I can have this serious role. I can play this autobiography. I can do this and do that without having to, for me, compromise who I am. Who I am means something to me. And I shouldn't have to compromise that for you, a person that don't even care about what that could do to me. I've seen actors talk about playing certain roles. If I can remember what that Master P movie was, right? Where he had the dudes go to jail and one of the dudes really played that jail role where he got in there and they took advantage of him, if you know what I'm saying. What was that movie? I can't think of that movie, but I don't think that actor was really the same after that. I could have swore I heard him speak on that. And it affected him. That role affected him. But everybody else goes on to the next thing, to the next script, to the next movie.
Check this shit over and over and over. It's programming. And they might try some of those things they hear you talk about. I remember I had a conversation with Future one time in the studio. And he said something that I will never forget. And he laughed while he said it. He was like, yeah, you know, people be thinking I do people be thinking I'm really doing a lot of drugs because I rap about it all the time. But they don't even be knowing I'm a lightweight. I said, in my head.
Shut up.
Because there are a lot of people that are huge Future fans, for instance. And that's how they're going to feel closer to him, because they're doing what they're hearing him rap about. Not knowing that he's not like that, no. So that's why it's important. Hip-hop. But you can't fault an artist. See, that's the
Now there's the debate right there, right? Come on. We gonna do this. If we here, we gonna talk, right? We gonna have that real family talk, right? That's the debate. Is that Future's fault or is that not Future's fault? He raps about Molly, Percocet, all this type of stuff like that, popping Molly, doing lean, this, that, and the third. And I thought, just probably like majority of people, is that he's speaking from experience. And to hear that, I can almost think in my mind and say, man, I know somebody out there is like, their mouth just dropped because they probably got exposed to that or tried that because they heard it in the music. So, and they thought, like she said, that made them closer to Future, somebody they may have looked up to or wanted to emulate. Or, you know, there's artists out there that believe that they can't do music sober. It's the weed, it's the drugs, it's the Molly's, the Percocets that makes them an artist and makes them a complete artist and able to think and come up with this creative stuff. And they think that they can't do it unless they're that way because that artist is talking about it and he's successful and he does the lean and the double cups and he does the Molly and Percocet, and that, look how successful he is. And then we see the overdoses that happen because of that. And then to hear that your favorite artist who thought you were mimicking your lifestyle after, don't even do that. Don't even do that. So it's like, and that's the same thing, like you have to treat music like you treat movies that you watch. In the movies, the action or the killing, they kill up you can't take that and go do that. So you have to take some responsibility for this too. But that was exposed and that blew my mind.
It was wild that I didn't know how close my own wife was to the Clintons.
That you were married to her?
And I was married to her.
How close was she to the Clintons?
I mean, cell phone away, like, or hey, tell Ye to say this away, or hey, go out and use your platform to push the vaccination away.
What? What? This world is a simulation. I would keep telling y'all that, bro. I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's interesting to know who's connected. Not saying that, but it really makes you say, is there an agenda being pushed? Does that artist really mean that when they say that? We don't know. It's being pushed to us, and this artist don't even care. They're saying it, not talking about Kanye, but ones who do push the agenda that they don't even subscribe to and push it down our throats. And know since that artist has so much influence that it'll probably work. Yo, politicians, bro, they worse than the mob.
Learn today. Listen to the woman who wrote The Matrix and The Terminator.
Well, that's what the Matrix is about, to wake you up from the Matrix, to get you out of the illusions and the lies and the ignorance. So it's not dangerous for me because that's my job. That's what I came here to do. That's why I wrote The Matrix and Terminator, to wake people up so they can move on to greater, better things. Yeah, but the Terminator is the prequels to, or the beginning of The Matrix. Sarah Connor is actually Neo's mother. So JC, John Connor's Jesus Christ, grows up to be Neo, one and the same in the Matrix. The Matrix is in the future. The Terminator is the past. It's time travel, past, present, and future time travel. It's the second coming of the Christ, the evolutions of consciousness, man versus the machine. So the machines, the Terminator machines, hear that a child is going to be born that's going to terminate them in the future when they oppress man. So see, it's a man versus the machine. It's God's children versus man's children, which was technology.
Oh my God, she just messed my head up. Oh my God, she just messed my head up. I gotta go back and watch them all now. After hearing that, how could you not? How could you not go back and start from the Terminator, Sarah Connor, and go through and watch The Matrix now and see everything in its totality? She just really messed me up with that. I did not know that. First of all, is this true? Is she really right? That's where I need to start first before I go diving into it and assuming. I need to make sure and figure out, if y'all know her name, please put it in the comment section so I could then go and find it. I'm going to do my own research, but if I can't find it and y'all know it, I'm going to double back here and look and see. And then if she is, I'm going to watch all of that. I promise you, bro. She just messed my head up.
Number 3, Bayer spread HIV. Many conspiracies tend to focus on government cabals. Oftentimes, though, some of the worst secrets come from the private sector.
They wanted to keep it secret. They didn't want to publicize something which would be damaging for the company.
German pharmaceutical company Bayer has been selling aspirin since 1899. Since that time, they've expanded to all kinds of drugs and medications. In the 1980s, the Bayer-owned company Cutter Biological was selling blood clotting factors for hemophiliacs, but recruiting high-risk donors to manufacture it.
The medicine's called Factorate. It was an injection medicine that was used for hemophiliacs, mostly children. Children had been born with an incurable disease.
Hold on, Mike.
That clotting factor became contaminated with HIV. When the problem was discovered, Cutter declared the response irrational, but switched over to safe, heat-treated products for the Western market. Then they shipped the contaminated products to Latin America and Asia to make a buck.
This company knew absolutely that they had a problem with the product. They knew that it was infected with AIDS. They dumped it because they wanted to turn this disaster into a profit.
Roughly 20,000 patients were infected by Bayer's. Number 3, Bayer spread.
He'd be driving and suddenly he'd be like 20, 19, 18. He'd like pull over to the side of the road, and that was my cue that I was supposed to get out of the car and then run, basically. And I was supposed to evade him. And so it was like for a timed period of like 2 or 3 hours, I would be trying to run away from him while he tracked me. And if he caught me, I would get punished. Like my rib cage is covered in these scars because he would count coup. Back then, I got really proud of myself when I would get away from him, instead of realizing that I was being chased through the woods by somebody who killed children.
How many children did you watch him kill?
I can remember, well, him specifically, not the group 5.
So you physically watched him kill 5?
Yeah.
How many did you witness?
Probably 7 over the course of my life, I think. Yeah.
Teal thought of escaping, telling someone, anything to get out, but fear would stop her.
One of the first programs that was done on me like that, he had me breathing and then go through an elaborate visualization where he was walking me through my home, having just told, okay, you just told people about me, and you just told people who you really are. So what do you see hanging from the rafters? I shrugged my shoulders. He goes, do you see that that's your mother? Do you see that her blood is all over the floor?
Teal knows many won't believe her. What she says is hard to confirm, but what she shares is also the focus of dozens of investigations around the country. Lieutenant Larry Jones, a former Boise police officer, was instrumental in a Department of Justice report on cult rituals. The report admits crimes like these are hard to prove, but says it is imperative that the cases be solved. In Teal's case, which she says was turned over to police, no charges have ever been filed.
I think that we're in a time where we have to open up to these a lot darker aspects of the human psyche. We have to admit that these things go on, and we have to provide ways for both sides of the equation to heal.
In most documented cases of ritual abuse, it's often close friends or family who commit the crime. Teal says the issue is bigger than anyone can ever imagine.
I think with every single case that we see coming out with this, people are more forced to accept the reality that this stuff occurs instead of just discrediting every single one of us, which has been the status quo for so long. It's really easy to write us off and say we're mentally ill. Most of us who go through these scenarios, we think that, you know, it's happening because we deserve it, or it's happening because we're evil, or some stupid thing like that. Sorry, I'm like...
You're okay. I know what many of you just heard is probably hard for you to believe, and I can tell you that I sat across from Teal for 3 hours, and I myself had a very hard time believing it. I did reach out to several mental health providers to see if Teal's behavior was consistent with the abuse that she described. None of them would go on camera to talk about it. Coming up in about 10 minutes, I'm going to ask Teal some tough questions about her claims, and you'll hear what she has to say.
What if I told you that all corporations are actually just one giant mega corporation? And I'm not talking about metaphorically. And I'm not talking about BlackRock. I'm talking about what's really behind BlackRock. See, we hit 1 million followers on TikTok this week, and I've been waiting to post this video since the very first video that I made, laying the groundwork of understanding so that we're all gonna understand this now that we're here. So let's break it down real simple. If you're gonna go grocery shopping at a corporate grocery store, all of these corporations are owned by these institutions. They're highlighted in red if they're on all 4 of these sheets. They're darker orange if they're on 3 of them, and light orange if they're on 2. And there's only a couple that only appear once. It's mostly the same money. But we go deeper. If you go for the biggest tech companies, it's basically the exact same list for all four of these. That would be Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Fidelity, T. Rowe Price, Geode, which is similar to Fidelity Associated, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley. And then Northern Trust is on 3 of them, and Capital World Investors is the exact same thing as Capital Research and Management Company. So you might think, okay, these are the institutions that own the whole stock market. But who owns them? And see, if you've been around here for a minute, you already know. They all own each other. Just a giant cross-ownership pool. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because see, way back before I'd even posted a single video, I was sitting in my office reading this report from an anonymous user on Reddit. And he had noticed the exact same thing that I'm talking about right now. And he wrote a program to put all that data into a visualization so we can see who owns who. And I'm about to show you what he figured out. Let's take BlackRock, for example. This is a list of the top institutional owners of BlackRock and how much of the company they own. And if you visualize it, it looks like this, where the whole square is all of BlackRock's stock, and they get a percentage of that square based on how much they own. And the important colors to note are that white symbolizes us, retail investors, and gray symbolizes insiders that work at the company. So that would be like Larry Fink's stock, among other people. And everything else is other giant corporations, investment banks. Like BlackRock themselves own a little bit. State Street owns some. Capital World Management owns some. Bank of America owns some. You see how this works? But then you think about it and you're like, well, wait a minute, because all of these institutions are owned by other institutions, right? So what if we put that data in here? Well, he did. And it looks like this. And you realize that all of this that was owned by Merrill Lynch is actually owned by all of these other institutions. And a little bit of us, retail, up there at the top. But here, we've only replaced Merrill Lynch's section. What about all of these guys? Well, then it looks like this. Remember, white is retail investors like you and me, and everything else is giant mega corporations. And if you go one layer deeper, filling in all those corporations with their corporations, you see how this program's working? And so then we simplify it to just black, gray, and white. And this is who owns BlackRock. White is retail investors like you and me. Gray is insiders at all of these corporations like CEOs and other executives. And black is just corporations owning each other. We'll call it Megacorp. This is the same process done for Bank of America and for State Street and for Best Buy, Amazon, Macy's. Groceries, food, ingredients, building and selling homes, even less white, meaning us, retail ownership. As far as I can tell, there's only one company on the entire stock market that is not owned by Megacorp. And you guess who it is? Do you know? It's GameStop. Except that this photo's out of date, because it's from a few years ago. It probably looks more like this, if you believe the public info, which is a big if. But more on that another time. This is not a video about GameStop. This is about Megacorp. Because see, when all of the owners own each other, all of their interests are aligned. BlackRock wants State Street to do well because State Street wants BlackRock to do well because they both own each other. So who is the real final boss behind all the money? Well, isn't that the million-dollar question? And ever since I've been asking those more important questions, my follower growth went from this to this. So you're not going to find those answers on this channel. You're going to have to go follow me in other places. All I'll say for now.
See, this is, and when you do, make sure when you realize that and you say to yourself, yes, I want to go down that rabbit hole. I want to really uncover some things. All I'm going to tell you is make sure you have your affairs in order. Make sure all of your affairs and everything, because bro, like this, like they ain't going to let too much get out. This is a lot, the fact that we know this information, but they ain't going to let too much get out. They ain't going to just let you expose. No, please.
Is that the next time you buy a product from a corporation like Nike or Costco or Best Buy or Amazon or any of these corporations, you're buying it from the mega corporation. They're all owned by the same big money. And it's all one big siphon, just vacuuming money out of our pockets up to the people on top. We'll make another video about how exactly they do that shortly.
Right now we are driving to the Chateau d'Amois. We just crossed over into Belgium, so we're out in the middle of nowhere in the Belgian countryside. This place is absolutely as notorious as they come. Definitely some anxiety in the air as we try to expose these creeps. This is a place a lot of people, I can guarantee, haven't heard of, but I want to raise awareness so that people do know what it is and they understand the very dark possibilities of what may be happening inside its walls. Yeah, we're 3 minutes away.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, looks like they got this place under fucking lock and key now. So we're right here. The chateau is right over here in this area to our left. The security here is fucking bananas. I mean, dude, this is actually crazy. Look at how thick this forest is here. You cannot see through. So like, whatever the is even behind this, I don't even know. If the allegations of human hunting parties that happen here are true, that would mean that it would be most likely in this forest area where those kids are being hunted and murdered.
That takes me back to what that girl was just talking about. And when the interview was talking about how he didn't really believe her and how she, if she's putting on a show in the front, she's doing a darn good job. She should be an actress, bro, because she really got me. Her look and everything, you know? But seeing those stands, those were some of the creepiest, like, stands he was just driving past. I'd have been turned around and went back out that gate, bro. That gate was locked for a reason.
Disney is trying to cover this story up. Watch this.
Amazingly enough, you're 16 years old. You wrote most of your songs. You're 16. Where does your inspiration come from?
Believe it or not, being 16, I've been through a lot. So
come on, how much heartbreak can you have at 16?
Oh, a lot.
We were hooking up, but I said, hey, this is not going any farther. I'm a virgin, and I don't want to lose it this way. And that didn't matter to them. They did it anyways. And I internalized it, and I told myself it was my fault because I still went in the room with him. I still hooked up with him. Here was the thing. I was a part of that Disney crowd that publicly said they were waiting till marriage. I didn't have the romantic, like, first time with anybody. That was not it for me, and that sucked. And then I had to see this person all the time. And you know what? F it. I'm just gonna say it. My Me Too story, someone did this to me, and they never got in trouble for it. They never got taken out of the movie they were in. Just kept it quiet because I've always had something to say, and it's like, I don't know, I'm tired of opening my mouth, so there's the tea.
This is a scripted video, it's for fun, and it's made up.
This is Jerry Sandusky, one of the worst in American history. This story is really dark and disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. So for many years in his adult life, Jerry Sandusky worked as an assistant coach at Pennsylvania State University, aka Penn State. And people on campus and in the state of Pennsylvania loved this guy for bringing them so much success with their football team. But in 2008, a teenager at a high school made an allegation against Jerry Sandusky, and he was investigated. And this began to unravel the entire dark story. So to tell this full story, we have to go back in time a little bit to 1977 when Jerry Sandusky founded this charity called the Second Mile. This charity aimed to provide foster kids with love and care, or as they stated, help and hope. President George H.W. Bush even praised this charity in 1990, saying that it was a great organization. And the head of the organization was none other than Jerry Sandusky, one of the most respected people in all of Pennsylvania. But after the high schooler made some allegations against Jerry, that's when the story takes a dark twist. Apparently, through his Second Mile charity, Jerry would approach young boys from ages 8 to 12 and groom them. He would offer these kids trips to football games, he would give them gifts, and this eventually would lead to inappropriate touching. Keep in mind, all while this was going on, Jerry Sandusky was seen as a hero at Penn State. So after Jerry would groom these kids for a while, eventually he would start touching them in the shower and locker rooms. And one victim who testified even claimed that Jerry made him play with his testicles and erect. And this outraged investigators because the kid was too young to even understand what he was being forced to do. So on November 4th of 2011, Jerry Sandusky was officially indicted on 40 counts of sex abuse against minors. And if this isn't bad enough, Penn State had actually actively covered up this entire situation for at least a decade. You see, according to the indictment in 2002, assistant coach Mike McQueary said that he walked in on Jerry Sandusky anally assaulting a 10-year-old boy. You see, Mike told the head coach, Joe Paterno, and other people involved in the athletic department about what he had seen Jerry Sandusky doing to this little boy. And not only did they basically brush him off, but they never reported it to anybody else. This allowed Jerry to continue picking children from the Second Mile organization to groom and abuse, and it allowed him to carry on for years abusing these children unchecked. Eventually, Jerry Sandusky went to trial facing 52 charges of child sex abuse. And the details of this trial are shocking and disturbing. One victim claimed that he'd been abused over 20 times by Jerry Sandusky, including him being forced to perform oral on him. Other victims claimed they saw Jerry Sandusky naked, propped up, pinned up against other children in the showers many times. And all of the kids said that he had showered them with gifts, taken them to football games, and been a great guy until he asked for something more. I mean, there's so much more to this story, including other instances of abuse that Jerry Sandusky was involved with. I can make a part 2 if you guys want to hear the rest of the story. But he was eventually sentenced to 60 years in prison, eligible for parole after 30 years.
It's operative to use the term conspiracy theorist for anybody questioning, and it's used today as a common ploy to discredit people who are questioning the situation.
The closest we ever came to having technologies and the existence of non-terrestrials go public was actually in 1962-63. I am told through Alliance sources that President Kennedy was indeed going to make some announcements and also make announcements.
Hold on, y'all. Now, this ain't got nothing to do with it. That is not my smoke detector. I know the stereotype for black people that we don't change our smoke detectors. That's how you know it's a black person's house, because the smoke detector go. That is not mine. That's in the video. I just don't be putting that on me. Yes, I occasionally have a smoke detector, but it's not going off right now. I'm sorry. That had to be that had to be addressed.
That he was going to take drastic steps against some of these secret societies that were running the planet. Therefore, they worked through the CIA to have him eliminated. When he was eliminated in a very public way, the cabal came into power in a very public way. They had been controlling things very covertly up until that point, but since then, they have overtly controlled the destiny of the United States.
Oh, there was a lot about Eyes Wide Shut. You ever seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut?
No.
You never seen that movie?
No.
Eyes Wide Shut. It's like this movie, right? This the director Stanley Kubrick directed this movie, and he directed a lot of movies. And basically, he was like exposing the Illuminati and their like sexual satanic rituals and stuff in this movie, right?
Okay.
2 weeks before this movie was supposed to air, they told him to pull it, and they were like, "Nah, you can't air this." And he was like, "Nah, like I'm gonna air it. Like this is my movie. Like what you mean?" And they were like upset because it was just exposing too much. He comes up dead before the movie's aired. He's mysteriously dead. Like 20 to 30 minutes is removed from the movie. So 20 to 30 minutes of footage is completely removed from the movie, and nobody knows what's in it. I wonder what they took off too, because what's still left in the movie is creepy and weird, and it's like, you know, like sexual, like witch rules, and like, you know, looks like sacrifice and stuff.
I kind of want to watch this movie.
I don't know, bro. It gives you the creeps, to be honest with you. Basically, what they're saying is like the way he died is the same way like one of the main characters died in the movie, in like a ritual type shit.
Oh my god.
Sacrifice, yeah.
General Bird, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. Strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole.